Down the Lens Podcast. Down the Lens Podcast. Down the Lens Podcast.
But things were going well, to be fair. We were like showing lots of signs of growth, really busy. And then I think we had about 6 or 7 really good inquiries, branding, web, etc. And they were kind of brands we wanted, we were kind of bumping up to these brands and they all started to come in. I just remember looking at them, like doing the proposals, thinking, only need 1 or 2, and just none of them came in.
What's the workshop entail? What is that?
So, sometimes we've done it with like multiple members of the team.
That's cool.
Come into the office. Some of them are quite odd.
Yeah.
I'm always dreading someone saying, "What is this?"
Yeah, why am I here?
Why am I comparing my...
Why are you wasting my day?
Yeah. Why am I comparing my brand to a tennis player? Or an ice cream brand?
Mm-hmm.
But it's conversations from these kind of trigger points. So we'll kind of have...
Okay, cool.
8 tennis players and be like, who's your brand? Is it John McEnroe? Is it Andy Murray? Is it Roger Federer? And they'll talk about things. They'll say like, it's not as angry and as aggressive as John McEnroe, but it's got a bit of bite to it. And we'll be writing all
like
this
a bit
down.
of sass.
Yeah. It's super classy like Federer, etc. And then there's kind of like font exercises, color palette exercises. If a client isn't fully sure, when they kind of say, oh, it's a bit of this, bit of this, we can kind of like hyper target those things, rule out a lot of things straight away and just put a plan together.
Hello everybody, welcome to episode 20. I'm joined here by Josh. How are you?
I'm good, yeah, not too bad.
Josh is the creative director, I'd like to say, of White Sky Creative. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you doing?
Yes, good. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Just for having me.
You said you drove up from Cornwall today, but I don't think it's specifically for this, thank God. Otherwise I would have felt guilty.
No, I had a few bits to do, but when you mentioned Thursday, I thought...
Yeah, see if I can wingle things in.
Yeah, definitely.
So talk to me a little bit about yourself and like, obviously you got your own like creative agency. Talk to me like how you started off initially, maybe not with the creative, but did you go to uni for it? Like what's your past?
Yeah, so moved to Cardiff probably, 12 years ago.
From Shrewsbury,
yeah. Moved up 12 years ago to do graphic communication.
Right, okay.
At Cardiff Met, or it was UWIC at the time.
UE,
yeah. And I did 3 years of that, and then I was kind of freelancing through uni.
Right, okay.
I was doing stuff for like Soda, Revs, like all their kind of flyers.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was getting really busy and stuff, and I set up White Sky as like a Facebook page.
Yeah, just
to kind of didn't want to do like Josh Cotterill design or anything like that. So I wanted to kind of like start effectively an agency.
Yeah, like branding it correctly and all that malarkey.
And kind of like obviously it didn't look like this at the time, but I wanted people to think they were contacting an office or...
Yeah, I've got into that situation sometimes, like, because I call myself Cole Parrott Videography. I then set up additional ones called like Cap Media Productions. Obviously,
cool.
You're clever enough to straight out of the back go and do it correctly or as a business.
I think there's pros and cons, and like, but it obviously... Like, everyone's doing it now and everyone's got freelance and whatnot, but at the time there wasn't loads of people doing it, and like Facebook page was a big thing, so like kind of went for that, had a little website and whatnot, and straight from uni it was kind of ready for me to go into, I guess.
Oh, that's nice. So you built that platform up ready, like you said you could. When did you start? When did you set that up then? How many years ago are you talking?
About 11 maybe, I'd say. Okay. Yeah.
Early 20s then, was it?
Yeah, it's probably about 20.
Oh, okay. Fair.
Yeah, and like, it was, I started to kind of become aware that I was just doing hospitality, so like kind of nightclubs and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was paying quite well. I was busy and whatnot, but I started to think I need to start being aware of this and veering away because I don't want to.
Yeah, have different avenues and different people to.
Yeah, and I didn't want to have a portfolio where. If someone said, "Oh, what have you done?" I'd be like, "Well,
just use a Jaeger bombs lined up on a bar."
But yeah, so as I said, ready from uni to kind of support me. I guess it wasn't like
that's a clever way of thinking. Talk to me about what, like, obviously the company does. I've seen obviously briefly it does like web design and like creative agency kind of branding and stuff like that. Talk to me like kind of what you specialize in as an agency.
So it's graphic design. Branding's the main one, and then websites is a big thing for White Sky. And then just everything around that really. So like print jobs, well, like obviously designing for print, like campaigns, all the kind of stuff for an event and stuff. So it's predominantly branding, but I started to become aware that branding projects drag on, the budgets aren't great, and they're really subjective.
Right, okay.
So that's why web's kind of a really good thing to, you can follow a really strict process, and the budgets tend to be a little bit higher as well.
And so for your web process, you're building basically a whole website for a client of some sort.
Yeah, so the whole process, and then we'll outsource it to a developer, and then we'll just project manage the developer. So yeah, we kind of probably started doing websites like 6-7 years ago.
Nice.
And then just started to get, progressively better at those as well.
And then do they have to come to you then for you to manage their website as well, or is that all down through the web developer?
The offer's there, but once it's done, it's kind of, we pass it over and whatnot. Because we just don't have the, like the infrastructure to kind of, fully manage sites long term.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So, yeah.
And how many people do you have working on for your team?
So, I didn't explain this before. So last year we were up to about 4. There was 4 of us.
Right, okay.
But just had a really awful year, like really, really awful year. And it just wasn't sustainable.
Yeah, okay.
So I've had to kind of scale things right back, change the whole model, the approach. I'm still going through that now. So yeah, at the moment it's kind of, I still work with a lot of the people that used to work for White Sky and like kind of outsource a lot to them. But yeah, it's kind of, I'll take on a project and I will just bring in the people it needs, so like an illustrator, photographer,
got you.
And just get it done.
And what did you find last year that obviously made you have to pull back on certain aspects? Was it just the budgets weren't there with the clients, or you were finding that there were other competitors out there that you had to deal with?
The competition's really, really fierce at the moment. I remember going to some of the uni shows, which I used to go to every year, and there was just a certain point where you suddenly think, fucking hell, well, I'll swear on this one.
Yeah,
go for it. Just the standard was like industry ready.
Right, okay.
There's people coming out of uni or just all over Instagram or LinkedIn and stuff who just really, really like highly skilled.
Shit hot.
Really, really shit hot. So there's that, like obviously because we were kind of working with a lot of startups, they can kind of think, small agency, or I could go with this, individual. Who's going to quote a few grand less. So that might have been a factor. But things were going well, to be fair. We were like showing lots of signs of growth, really busy. And then I think we had about six or 7 really good inquiries, like branding, web, etc.
The full.
Yeah, and they were kind of brands we wanted. We were kind of bumping up to these brands, and they all started to come in.
Lovely.
I just remember looking at them, like doing the proposals, thinking, I only need 1 or 2 of these.
Yeah.
And just none of them came in. Like our proposal process is normally really strong, and people always compliment it. We spent a lot of time developing it. But yeah, just this period where I was kind of, I wasn't getting cocky, but I was kind of like, these are the brands we want to work with. They're coming to us.
Yeah, I think it's about time we actually nailed these brands and these become part of you.
And I just thought, as I said, 1 or 2, 3 would be great, but we're fine.
Yeah, that's all you need really in today's society. Well, industry. I think if you have 1 or 2, I don't know how you run your business, obviously, but like we talked previously on this podcast about retainers. If you've got 1 or 2 retainers, for a 6-month term, you can obviously forecast your business then for, said long, which obviously makes you as a business owner feel more comfortable with pitching to new businesses. And if you get more clients on board, then it's just a plus then.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with retainers as well. Like we had a few at that time, or maybe a little bit before. And it's just, there's been times in the past where I've hired someone because of a retainer.
Yes, you needed the extra person to manage that client.
And then a month later, they're like, we're going to bring this in-house. And you just think, shit.
What do I do now?
Yeah.
You're just taking on someone full-time just to fulfill that,
And, obviously I'll always do everything I can to make sure we keep that person on and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's just the stresses of business, right? And that's just those moments you're just like, got to tackle this now.
Yeah, you've got to like put your business head on and come up with a strategy to obviously fix what's being put in front of you. What have you learned from that process then? Obviously, you've come through it the other side. You're obviously still going. You're still sailing.
Yeah.
What as a business owner and a creative, what have you learned that obviously maybe you could give advice upon?
I guess we'll go into certain things like individually. Like process is so important. But I think for me, I don't know if this is relevant, but I worked a lot, like, 7 days a week, 7 a.m. start, 9 p.m. finish, whatever, like just constantly.
Yeah.
And I kind of started to realize, is it worth it?
Right.
Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
You kind of lost.
Like you said, you've got a partner. You want to spend time with your partner.
Yeah.
You might have a young family. Obviously, I feel like we're both at that age.
Yeah. It's, I was just doing it constantly for all of my 20s. Effectively gave my whole 20s to it.
Yeah.
And I think my biggest fear was kind of it not working or not getting to where I wanted to. And I've realised in like the last year or so, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like I want to be successful. I want to work in this field, but I want to have a life as well.
Yeah.
And I think I noticed like, Tom Parsons said something similar. Alex Bull as well.
Yeah.
When they came on this podcast, obviously. So I started to kind of think, I think the whole hustle culture thing is not what it was.
Yeah, I especially feel like, speaking from obviously what you're saying there, I feel like the hustle culture, if it's your own business, the first 2 or 3 years, 100% is there. But I've noticed, maybe because I'm a little bit older, I'm not 20 and have any overheads or anything like that. I feel like now I'm a little bit older, you kind of realise, is it worth me spending, for my example, 3-4 hours on this edit, or do I just give this person, the money for editing just so I can spend that time with my family?
Yeah, I know it kind of didn't really specifically answer your question, but
no, but you're on the right lines. Like I can see how it like comes across onto like my industry and how it works for yours and maybe other freelance industries that around.
I think my advice would be obviously just find that balance.
Yeah,
I've burnt out a few times and like kind of given up on weekends and like fun kind of things. Just to constantly work.
Yeah.
And you do suddenly think, this isn't sustainable. This isn't even worth it. Unless you're kind of building like an absolute powerhouse kind of thing.
Yeah, where you're almost not even part of it anymore. You've got like its own creative director who manages certain, departments within there.
Yeah, but I never felt I could kind of pull myself away from it. So it's kind of...
It's your own baby. No one's ever going to love it. I've seen many a quote. No one's ever going to love it as much as you are.
Yeah. You can't hire that. Because it's
yours.
It's your thing, yeah.
So that was like last year, and obviously you've learned from those processes. Coming into obviously this new year now, what have you like learned that you're now trying to implicate and kind of push forward with, running the business now?
So I'm kind of I'm reapproaching everything where over the last few years we really worked on our process and tightened everything up, which is it's in a good place.
So talk to me about your process. Sorry, like what is your process? Do you mean in gaining clients or like working with the client, or?
I guess from like onboarding the client to just how we kind of, that initial conversation then leads into kind of a questionnaire.
Yeah.
Then we get them in for a workshop. We do a proposal, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's the processes. Like I find when projects are big, they're really overwhelming.
Yeah.
You kind of think, where do I start?
Yeah,
but you've got to break it up into steps.
Yeah.
And then you kind of go into a start note and ticking off, like, I've done the workshop, done the workshop analysis, I've run that past the client. I've done the mood boards, which have moved on to stylescapes, which are kind of like hyper-targeted mood boards.
Right, okay.
So like before we've even like put any pixels down, we've kind of got an agreed direction for the project. So it's those bite-sized steps where you think, okay, I can manage this now.
You're right, got you.
Because I'm breaking it down and I'm ticking it off as I go.
Talk me through those processes, because I'm completely new to kind of your world. I've dealt with like storyboarding, mood boarding, like maybe building like a basic script. But obviously, it sounds like I've seen on your website you've got 4 processes that you go through.
Yeah.
If you could break them down, talk to me a little bit about that, just so I can understand and learn the concept.
Probably should have had a glance at my website, to be fair. But so obviously, I think the first one is research. So that is those things I listed really. So that questionnaire with the client, getting them in for a workshop, ideally. But obviously,
what's the workshop entail? What is that? You actually physically getting a representative from the brand?
Sometimes we've done it with like multiple members of the team.
That's cool.
I'll come into the office and we'll run. Kind of always have to explain to them. It's kind of a bit. Some of them are quite odd.
Yeah.
I'm always dreading someone saying, "What is this?"
Yeah,
Right.
Why am I here?
Why am I comparing my?
Why are you wasting my day?
Yeah. Like, why am I comparing my brand to a tennis player, or an ice cream brand?
Mm-hmm.
But it's conversations from these kind of trigger points. So we'll kind of have 8 tennis players and be like, who's your brand? Is it John McEnroe? Is it Andy Murray? Is it Roger Federer?
Yeah, like what do these individuals represent that you can line yourself with your brand?
Yeah, and they'll talk about things. They'll say like, it's not as angry and as aggressive as John McEnroe, but it's got a bit of bite to it. And we'll be writing all
like
this
a bit
down.
of sass.
Yeah. It's super classy like Federer, etc. And then there's kind of like font exercises, color palette exercises, and it just helps us kind of get really. If a client isn't fully sure, when they kind of say, "Oh, it's a bit of this," we can kind of like hyper target those things, and rule out a lot of things straight away, and just put a plan together.
Nice.
So
that's your first bit. Your research, your workshops, stuff like that.
Questionnaires, workshops, just general research, mood boarding, stylescapes. That's all in research.
Sounds like you're doing a lot of preparation first hand.
I think when we worked on our process, because back in the day, like I haven't worked for an agency before.
No, I've never done it.
So like, I used to take on a branding project and be like, let's just crack on. Like, let's just.
What do you want? Okay.
Yeah, let's just mess around with some fonts. Let's see what's working. Let's just try loads of concepts until something sticks. And it's just, you need it on the rails. You need the whole project on rails. Otherwise it's just up in the air and you're just spending days longer than you need to.
Yeah.
So spent a long time like working on a process, which I always thought our process was never as good as the other agencies kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
And I always assumed every agency had a really tight process, which I'm not sure if that is the case.
No, I bet you there's some agencies out there just wing it.
Yeah. But yeah, so that research phase, and obviously, the workshops picked up a lot of things. The stylescape is kind of, we might go back and forth with that. So it's kind of a vibe for the brand, like a visual kind of representation of
just something pleasing on the eyes, so they can start wrapping their head around the concept you're building from.
And like there might be 3. So the first one might have like quite an earthy palette with like classy serif fonts.
Mm-hmm.
The other one might be quite bold and bright with like heavy, like bold sans serif fonts. And it's kind of like, which one of these do you feel is your brand?
Yes.
Like with like the imagery style, the kind of, we'll take some things on the mood board and drop it in.
These companies that are coming to you, are they fresh off the press, or are they like, got their feet in the ground, but maybe they got a new product launch, or are they a bit of both?
Bit of both. Like we've worked with some decent sized clients, but I wouldn't say we've ever had like household names. Yeah. Like real like big kind of
like Holland Barrett, for example.
Yeah, I think we probably should have been striving towards that at one point.
But it sounds like, because your process is quite integral and quite, the client already has to commit to that workshop element. Yeah. I feel like even before then, they're already committed to working with you as a brand almost. Because I feel like if I was a client now, I wouldn't bother coming to your workshops and doing all that like questionnaire stuff for you. And if I thought I was going to go somewhere else, because I'm committing my time to you,
I guess
it sounds like they're locked in already.
The quote is for like all 4 phases. I guess like after the phase 1, they could take that. Like we're not that tight with contracts or anything, so we don't lock them into all 4. We'd like to think they just want to stay for the whole thing, really. But I think some clients will do the workshop to then work out the approach and the quote, if that makes sense.
Yeah, got you.
That's probably a good way of doing it.
Yeah.
But we, after the workshop, we might kind of pinpoint that they want a specific illustration style, and then we'll have to go back and amend the quote. But yeah, generally we've already done the proposal before they've come in, really.
So you've done that and you've done the workshops. What's the next process after like the research and the initial?
Obviously some like brand strategy. So just kind of like, you know, kind of customer personas, just understanding who they want to sell to, you know, tone of voice of the brand, the kind of market positioning and all that jazz. And then obviously we'll move on to concepts and we'll stagger that into sprints. So they'll be like...
Talk me through that, because that's another world to me. I'm here to learn.
Well, you say this, but then when you say about storyboards, like that terrifies me. Like I wouldn't
that's
know
the same. I think that's the same as you coming up with like these mood boards. It's the same thing, but I'm just using pictures and maybe describing the shot and like the camera used for that, if that makes sense.
One thing with that, by the way, is on a storyboard where like a production company is like, it kind of shows storyboard and shot. Have they done that kind of sketch after the shoot to kind of be like,
what, like
they line up very perfectly?
Yeah, well, like depending how big the production is, for the experience I've had, you can use multiple different sources online.
Yeah.
Where you can, you could use Pinterest if you wanted to use it free. Yeah. But there's other ones like Shutterstock, and there's basically you can pull these images off, and there might be the right look that you want to go for, and then you can send them off to the client to build a storyboard. Then.
Okay, cool.
And then if they agree to those specific shots, maybe you want to go for a wide shot, moody, and stuff like that. Then you can then use other applications where you can specify, and you can just draw a little stick man and just put like talent walks into shots. 35mm camera. So
I'm obviously on like a kind of listing steps of our process, but I think that's a really kind of, there's a lot of prep that must go into your stuff.
Yeah, right? But a lot of my stuff, maybe because it's not big end stuff, I'm more of like, I'll check out the venue or the location and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it'll just be a general turn up and kind of shoot, which is maybe like a rookie of me.
Yeah.
But definitely when the budget's there and the client's maybe bigger and you want to become across more professional, you will do your research.
Yeah.
And what I always try and do now, which I've learned, is where's this deliverable going? Who's seeing this? Like, what is the end goal for this? And then from that, I'm able to build the concept of the idea for the video in front of me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
A bit like you with branding. You're like, I don't know, say if it is like a product release, is this going on billboards? Is it going as like a hero shot on your website and stuff like that? So then obviously that might change the way that you need to perceive the brand or push across the illustrations and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think you'd know from like the early stages if it's like a heavily social content focused brand, or are they going to be running kind of like print media and stuff? And I guess you'd amend the approach from that. But yeah, in terms of design phases and running it into sprints, like sometimes we do, sometimes we don't.
What's a sprint?
So you would say sprint 1, 2 days, initial concepts based off the research, the stylescapes, everything we spoke about. And then you'd kind of present that and be like, how are we looking? Let's talk about what you like, what you don't like. Yeah. And they'll be like quite rough at that stage, but then you'll then take forward the things that are good. Yeah. And you want to progress with into sprint 2, which might be 3 days. And it's just to make sure that you don't get to sprint 3 or late in the process where they can turn around and be like, oh, I didn't want this.
Yeah, I feel like I've been there with a couple of clients.
That's why we did it, because it's like, it's just not, it can't happen. Like it's happened before.
Because then you're basically all the way back to sprint 1, or all the way back to the research part.
Yeah, there's been times where we've kind of said that, we've spoke about this, we've gone through Starscapes, you've signed this off, you've signed this off, and we've all, we've agreed X, Y, and Z. What's happened?
Yeah.
What's gone wrong?
Yeah, like I don't think there's anything wrong from your end, but like obviously clients can change like their minds. They might just be like, oh, we want to go for this kind of thing now.
Some see something else.
Yeah, and they think, oh, that looked good. Maybe we can have that on ours.
Yeah, but you're like, that looks good, that looks good, that looks good.
Yeah, that aligns with our brand.
Yeah.
You align with this.
But let's not get distracted. Let's not kind of look for shiny things elsewhere. Let's stay like focused on a direction.
Yeah.
And we've come to this conclusion for a reason, from like lots of discussions and whatever. So
workshops.
But yeah, so just kind of run through those sprints and obviously refining each time and kind of moving forward with the good things and taking away the stuff that's not working. And then from there, you should have brand foundations, really. So a logo, brand fonts, color palettes, some assets, iconography and stuff. And then the final phase would be application.
Right,
So
okay.
rolling that out across, giving them print examples, social content, like templates, email marketing and stuff. And sometimes brand guidelines as well.
Right, okay. And then, like, how do you find the whole process of, like, creating the logo and stuff? Is that down to you, or do you leave that with, like, illustrators and stuff like that? How do you come across that process? Or because I'm telling you now, when I've tried to come up with logos for myself, you see, like we just spoke about then, just about the client maybe seeing one thing and then they want it implemented to theirs. When it comes to logos, you've got to be stubborn.
Yeah, it's
just to try and stay put,
Yeah, I guess obviously, we would have gone through loads of discussions during that and testing it out along the way, and just from experience, really. So you're designing something that's versatile, that can work at different scales and whatnot. Sorry, what was what was the question again?
Basically, like the logos, how you find the process of the logos and doing all that, basically.
Just to kind of
spend this money and
and be like,
you want to be proud of your brand at the end of the day, don't you? You want to go away and like, oh, look how sick my logo
I want
is.
people to go to networking events and be like, that's my brand.
Yeah,
like,
and these are the guys who've done it for me.
Yeah. And so, like, it's quite a big responsibility and stuff, I guess. But obviously, the steps are there to make sure we kind of are working with the client and keeping them involved. But I guess that's
it's a tricky one to do. Like.
yeah.
And obviously, so you've delivered the logos and stuff like that. You talked about briefly just about branding. Then, what do you do in retrospect in regards to branding? Do you kind of point them in the right direction? Do you kind of come up with their like business plan kind of thing, or like their ethos and all that?
Yeah, I've always kind of felt I was quite a business kind of driven graphic designer. Well, like I've run like kind of side hustles and stuff, like brands and whatnot, and sold like Christmas jumpers in the past.
I need a new Christmas jumper.
I used to have a little.
We're filming this on like, I think the 15th of November. Be going out in 2 weeks, so technically Christmas will be, in like 3 weeks' time.
It's a festive episode.
Yes,
but like I remember at college when I did graphic design, I was drawn to graphic design as opposed to art because of that direct link to business.
Yeah, okay, got you.
I genuinely think it's a catalyst for like growth. It can kind of, it's the difference between a brand being cool and or being like on trend or, so I'm really fascinated by that side of things. And I think from running certain things in the past, like other brands and kind of like side ventures, everything I've learned, I bring those into the projects. So I'll help them source kind of clothing or print, like good quality print, or put them in touch with the right people to kind of get it rolled out. So I get really heavily involved because I want it to be, I want their brand to be successful because I want not to take the benefit myself, but like I want to kind of, I want to look and be
you want to showcase the work that you've put out there and give to clients.
Yeah, I want to kind of be proud of it and be like, that brand's thriving. And I think, genuinely think it's what we did as a big part of that. Yeah.
So we earlier spoke about like burnout and stuff like that. I had a previous guest on before and I had the opportunity to work with him as well. And he mentioned creative kicks to me, but I was like, oh, is you any good at football? I was like, more of a rugby player, mate. But he pointed me in the direction and obviously I've been following you for a little bit and I forgot and didn't realise you're the gentleman who set up Creative Kicks.
Yeah.
Talk me through what if Creative Kicks if no one knows about it and what it entails.
So Creative Kicks is a football-based networking event for Cardiff's creative community. So it's kind of designers, web developers, videographers, copywriters, musicians. I think we've got a group of about 90 people.
Oh, so I thought it was just like a football team size.
No, so it's kind of, moved onwards to, it was originally like kind of kick-arounds and tournaments.
Yeah.
Then we started like organising 11-a-side friendlies. So it's kind of people who you'd say to them like, kick arounds are for everyone. Just come along.
Yeah,
you know, obviously, ideally, you've played football before.
Yeah,
but like,
you know, your left from your right.
Yeah, but like, don't worry about, you know, standard is
Yeah.
absolutely fine. Like, you don't need to kind of. Some people would kind of get a bit tense about that, but that's just welcome to everyone. And then some really, really good players there.
Oh,
Just like
got competitive.
I got super competitive, and like, but like, people used to always take the mick out of me because I used to send like a long list of being like, this is the time, and like, bring your water, bring this, and I'd be like, no slide tackles, just like take it easy.
You were like the mum of the group.
Yeah,
like,
and
I've got work, I got clients to
but
deal
it
with.
is,
Don't want a
isn't it?
broken leg being on set.
like everyone there's, you know, is kind of, they're professionals or they run their own business, and I was just like, we can't be coming to Creative Kicks and being off work for 3 months.
Yeah.
And everyone was just like, all right, mum. And I was like, yeah, joke aside, don't fly in.
Yeah, serious, no
Yeah.
2 foot tackle. So talk me through the process of starting up Creative Kicks. Why did you do it in the first place then?
So I did it about 5 years ago, but
Yeah.
like, I think it was called Creative Kicks, but it wasn't like, it didn't have like a logo and an Instagram and all that. And I was like, I just think it's just a nice idea after work to get a load of people, like-minded people. That's the main thing.
Yeah,
like,
especially if like you're self-employed, but obviously your little business and you got like another freelance videographer, photographer.
Yeah.
They've got no kind of work camaraderie with other individuals.
I think that was the thing. Like, I've worked at home by myself a lot, and you just don't see anyone, or
Yeah,
you don't
just
kind
you.
of have anyone to bounce off or anything. And I was just like, if everyone works in this field, they're probably going to get on, right?
Mhm.
They're probably going to be mates, and they might not have crossed paths. So just thought, get loads of, you know, it was kind of more, I guess, designers and stuff, just people I knew, so
Yeah,
like videographers and that. And then just seeing if bring a few along or whatever. But yeah, 5 years ago, I think the first one, like some of the lads from the office came. I think I rolled my ankle within 2 minutes, so I was just on the floor like.
Those rules went straight out the window.
I think I just literally just like rolled over the
Just
floor.
personal error.
But it was just nice. Like, it was like in the summer after work, just to kick around
Yeah,
and just kind of bringing people together. I think I might have been overthinking it, but I felt certain agencies didn't cross paths because they were almost like enemies.
stomping grounds.
Yeah, like they probably were kind of like, I don't know if they like, probably overthinking that, but like,
No, I think you might be right because at the end of the day, agencies are all competing against one
they're
another.
probably going in for the same pictures. They probably
Yeah.
got like,
If you're a client, you're going to be clever and you're going to go to if you're based in Cardiff, you're going to go to every agency and see who offer you the
And
best.
they're probably big
product.
tenders, right? So there's,
Yeah.
So I was kind of thinking, if there is any of that, let's just stamp that out and just get people together. They're like-minded, they're into the same thing, and we'll just have a game of football.
Yeah.
And did a few, and you know, like, because it was quite casual, you'd have like 3 people not turn up, and I was like, 20 quid down, it's not the end of the world, but. And then like we did one where we booked out the Dome in House of Sport.
Nice.
And, you know,
Is
like,
that down by the Cardiff City
I
Stadium?
think it's moved. Yeah, it was then.
Yeah,
But
okay.
and again, it was fun, but like people, you know, sometimes 5 people didn't show up, so I was like, this isn't working. I'm losing 25, 30, 35 quid a time. The numbers are all skewed because like people aren't rocking up. So like I kind of stopped it for a bit, but I like obsess over things. Like when I got something in my head, I'm like thinking it's of a brand or like doing kits or like building a community.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like,
Yeah.
that's just your branding and your kind of creativeness coming out in you.
So like I parked it for a little while and then I was like, no, I'm bringing this back and I'm going to put an Instagram account to it. I'm going to put a process to it. I'm going to kind of make it something you want to be a part of.
Yeah, like a family.
And it definitely became that. But like it kind of got to this thing where the events went on Eventbrite and we'd like say tickets drop at 8 p.m. They were sold out at 8:05. Like people were like all chatting about it in the group and like saying, got one. And I was just like, this is what it needed. It needed structure and it needed to kind of, it was too casual before. So yeah, over the last year and a half, just kind of, ran, you know, monthly events. We did some big tournaments.
Talk to me about the event. So it's not just a football team then.
No, so
It's you actually run like meetups and stuff like that, like discussions, conferences.
we should have done more like kind of events. We've done socials and stuff, done Christmas socials and
a little get together, some drinks, and some food.
Like football quizzes and all that jazz. And then the kick arounds were kind of, we'd have a kick around, and then we were sponsored by Days Brewing, so it's like a 0% beer brand.
Okay.
So after, we'd play indoors like for an hour, 1 hour and a half, and then we'd all kind of go and sit outside and pass the beers out and do like a man of the match vote and all this jazz, and just kind of have like a
chit chat.
Yeah, nothing like
you're not saving that for the football pitch. That's like nitty gritty stuff. It's, the nice. How's your week been? Is after over a beer.
But like, so we just kind of doing stuff like that. So Days was really good for that because it kind of meant people hung around and and it just had a really good feeling about it, and just all the lads that were coming were just really sound lads. I think everyone was getting on, so and then just started like, I just can't let it go. So like I'll be like, I'm going to do a tournament, 32 people, and
like a round robin kind of thing. Was it?
Yeah, well, yeah. So organised it all, sold out, which is great, and the day of it was just bucketing it down, like the worst rain you can ever, like lightning, thunder,
typical Welsh weather.
Yeah, but the worst rain ever, and I was just like,
thick stuff that gets you real wet.
Oh, it's just terrible, and I was like, I'm gonna have to pull it. Like, we can't play in this. Like, it's borderline dangerous.
Yeah.
And I was putting in the group. I was trying to go around picking people up, and it was just like couldn't see out the car and stuff. And I was like, no one's gonna come. This is an absolute mess. I got there, and there's 32 lads in the bike sheds. Like, no one's not showing up.
Where was this to?
It's outdoors, House of Sport, I think, by the stadium. Yeah. Okay. And I was just like, this is mad. Like, I wouldn't have even minded if people. I would have expected.
Yeah, you would have understood.
Yeah, and I was kind of like, not one, but like for one person not to kind of go, I don't fancy that.
Yeah.
So even that, I was just kind of thinking like, people seem to like this and like they're really kind of committed to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, did obviously more events. Did like a 48 player tournament, which is kind of like a big, like a bit more of an all dayer kind of thing. Yeah, I just kept growing the group really, and then we started to form like an 11-a-side team, like loosely. So yeah.
So is Creative Kick still going?
So
you still accepting new players?
Yeah, the group's still going. So like, just message the Instagram, and just if you fancy it, I'll just chuck you in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
Some of the other lads are kind of. So I don't know if I mentioned, but I'm obviously moving away.
The big apple,
the big smoke. Yeah. So I'll try and set it up there, ideally, hopefully. But
do like a national one then, Wales v England.
Yeah,
because obviously you're English. So
yeah, we'll definitely try and
do a Wales v England one.
I think we definitely that would be the aim.
That'd be cool.
But like, I hope the Cardiff one keeps going, because it's a really good group of lads, and I think it's onto a good thing. So.
What do you reckon the future is for it? Is it kind of more just like a social team thing, or do you think it'll turn into like a meetup where like specific events will go on?
Yeah, I had so many ideas for it. I think when I kind of realised I was moving, the momentum of it was going really well, and I had loads I wanted to implement into it. And once I realised I couldn't, it's like I can't come back and forth. Like, it's just too much. So. I needed to kind of just pull myself away from it a little bit. So yeah, the matches are still going ahead. I think there'll probably still be a Christmas social.
Yeah, you going to that?
Yeah, if there is one, I think so.
You sound like you're on the fence.
But yeah, I think I'll be based in Hackney, so I'm going to try and get something going there.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
And then if we can get a group going, then maybe organise a Cardiff v London kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the most important thing is it keeps going. And
I think it's definitely good. I wish I knew about it sooner, even though I don't play football.
Yeah.
I think a lot of young creators, whether they're live in Wales or the UK, there's not much out there. Like, it's quite cool that you've technically created a niche football team, really specified for certain job roles.
Yeah, I kind of didn't really make too much sense at the start, but I kind
It
of
definitely makes sense now, you know.
yeah. And as I said at the beginning, it was kind of I was just thinking of those people who work from home and don't see anyone. And I
Yeah,
was just
because when did you set up? Say 5 years ago.
yeah, so it's quite sporadic.
Just before COVID, then I guess.
Probably a year or so ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
a year or so before it. Yeah. But yeah, and then I just parked it for a little bit. Obviously, yeah, I couldn't do anything in COVID. But yeah, I just came back with a bit more of a structure, and it kind of it grew really nicely. To be fair.
So you just mentioned then you're off up to Hackney.
Yes.
Is that to widen your horizons with your business, maybe potentially bring in other clients, or is that just like a move for the family? Or
So, my wife got a job in Shoreditch.
congratulations,
Yeah.
Josh's wife.
And I think because I had like offices here and stuff, I've always loved Cardiff. But like, if my wife did want to move, I was always like, I can't. I'm locked in the office, or like I'm kind of. I felt like I said that a bit too much, and over the last year or so, I just kind of said like, look, if you want to, I'll have a word with the people, the office, kind of the people who run the office, and I'm up for it. Like I'm up for a change. I'm up for. I felt bad that I was kind of always saying like, oh, I can't, like I'm stuck. Like,
Because of you, like.
Yeah. So I just thought, yeah, I'm up for it. I'm up for trying something different. Spoke to the people who run the office and was like, look, I'm kind of staying here because of this contract now.
Yeah,
like
you're holding me back.
Yeah. So any chance? And it was all right.
So you're going to take your business to London. Kind of what you aiming to get up there? You kind of already kind of putting feeders out to clients.
Yeah, like I think the thing I'm a bit nervous about is I did a lot of my networking at the start. So like I was like constant, like kind of messaging everyone and like getting meetings with everyone. And I've kind of all those things have then led to them being like recommending me to someone else. And
yeah, you kind of built yourself in Cardiff or South Wales, for example, but now you're going to London.
Yeah, so
it's a whole new pond to be swimming in.
And I haven't swum in it for a while. No. So I
time to get out your comfort zone again.
Yeah, I'm up for it. I just want to kind of
That might, obviously we spoke earlier about burning out. Obviously you now putting yourself in that new situation, that might give you that kind of boost or that kind of energy that maybe you think, actually, let's go again, round 2 kind of thing.
Yeah, I've already started planning like things I need to tweak with like, with my business and whatnot, and kind of putting in time in the calendar to get those sorted. Just want to improve across the board, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel I just work all the time, so like I never get a chance to go out and chat to people or go to networking events.
Yeah.
And I want to try and find that balance of being quite strict with my time when it comes to work, but then also developing and meeting new businesses and whatnot.
One way you can do that is just chuck your costs right up, so that gives you more time to go out and network with other people.
Everyone says it, right? Like, it's working. The aim is to work less.
Yeah.
Better projects, work less, and then free up that time to develop things. Yeah.
Yeah, because I guess time is money, isn't it? So like, if you can spend your time elsewhere, then you make your money else places.
And I think it's about being strict with your time. Like I've always been too throwing in loads of meetings for free and kind of being stuck on the phone to people for a long time, talking about their brand and stuff.
Yeah.
And you think
it's like an hour or 2 out your day.
Yeah. And you add that.
I charge that for editing, you're talking nice bit of wedge.
Yeah. So that's what I'm looking to do, is just kind of tighten up my terms and tighten up my being a bit stricter with my time, so that frees up time elsewhere.
Yeah, 100%. I was going to ask you, obviously, because you're from a slightly different world to me, one helpful question I was going to ask you, maybe help listeners as well. What kind of applications do you use to kind of, not manage necessarily business, but what applications would you recommend for people to use if they're in that kind of line of work? Or
so I've always used Asana, which is like a kind of Trello.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, Monday.com. They're all.
Yeah.
So I've always thought Asana's decent. And then
manages your projects and tells you like what stage they're at and stuff like that, is it?
I think some people are really good with it. It's like the ins and outs of all the settings, so you can kind of like have more of like a timeline and whatnot.
Got you.
But I've got all like my tasks and all my clients and kind of like deadlines and whatnot, and you can just tick them off as you go. So Asana's good. Everhour is really good for retainers.
So I've never heard that. Say that to me nice, loud and clear, so I can listen back to this and be like, write it down.
So Everhour.
Everhour.
Yeah. And I think it's got like a desktop app where you can just kind of click the project you're working on, set the time, and just stop it if you leave, if you pop out or whatever. And that I used to use that for reports. So for retainer reports. So our retainer packages were time-based.
Oh, okay.
So a brand would say, lock us in for 20 hours a month. And we just have our team at the time would just log like 45 minutes on this task, 15 minutes on this task.
Right,
They would just chip away at their 20 hours.
Okay.
And that was kind of...
Does that link an email of the clients through to it so they can track what
I just sent it to them at the end of the month, or if they requested it. But it used to, I think clients liked it. I don't think it's the done thing necessarily, but my selling point was saying like, look, if a task takes 13 minutes, you pay 13 minutes. I'm not rounding that up to 30 or 60.
Yeah.
Because you're on this kind of block about time. So we're just chipping away at it. So if you ask for a quick edit and it takes 2 minutes, I'm not rounding that up.
Yeah.
So a lot of clients don't really like that. And Everhour was great for that, just kind of tracking time. I think when I had like a team, you'd look and be like, mate, you're not on Everhour. And it's quite stressful because you think, we haven't logged like 4 hours, so we need to go and do that by hand. And did you miss anything yesterday, kind of thing. But that's quite good for managing your time and just kind of even just tracking how long that project's taking. Xero for accountancy. Have you got that?
I use QuickBooks for my
yeah.
Same thing, is it?
Yeah. I think Xero is quite dear actually, so I might look away from that. But yeah, Xero's decent. And then it's a basic one, but like Google Drive, having file streams set up.
Right, okay.
So on your desktop, where I've got no files on my computer. So I'm just literally
constantly buying storage. I am.
Oh yeah, for video, yeah, I can imagine. But like, I'm just always, everything on my desktop is in a folder which goes through the cloud. So every time I'm saving, it's just saving direct to Drive.
And then maybe does that then work with like the freelancers that you bring on? They can access that.
Yeah, just share them into the folder and whatnot. But like, it's just having it on your desktop, set up with that. I think it's called File Stream. That was a game changer, especially when you got a team as well.
Is it a plugin? Is it?
It's a Google plugin.
Chrome,
yeah,
yeah,
and it just appears at the top of your desktop.
File Stream.
I think they might have changed the name of it, but it's.
I'll have a look at that.
I don't know how good it'll be for video.
But what about is that good? Do you also send that? How do you deliver your deliverables?
Yeah, in Google Drive.
So that would work well for that as well then.
Yeah. So yeah, I've got kind of a client Google Drive where everything that's for the client goes in there, and then obviously we've got kind of the business one. But it's just that idea of not clogging up your computer with files, but then also not having to kind of go onto your browser and like drag it in, pop it in that folder. It's just kind of save and it's going straight to the cloud.
Yeah, got you.
I know it sounds really basic, but
no, there's like I've used certain little applications, even for like because I'm relatively new to a Mac. I was Windows before. But like there was one called Magnet.
Okay.
And then one called Jetson. I don't know. So like, and there's another one I got. It's called Yonker.
Yeah.
So like, they're very simple plugins, but like Magnet is basically Windows. You know when you drag a Windows and you put it to the side, it like pops up.
Yeah.
Or like it stays half of the screen, and then you can do it the other. Obviously, Apple straight out the packaging, you can't do that. So Magnet allows you to, move your different screens, and so they pop in and lock into the certain areas. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I won't be long-winding it, but
it's like a grid.
You know when you go Windows and you want two side by side.
Yeah.
But with Apple, you have to do it manually. But Magnet allows you to like bing.
Half and half,
yeah, and just do it that way. And then Jetson, Windows is fine with it, but like a lot of time with an Apple computer, you have to eject the hard drive or whatever correctly.
Yeah.
With Jetson, when you turn your computer off, it does it automatically, or you just press Command E and eject it.
Oh, okay,
so
cool.
It's only simple. And then the best one I've got is called Yonker. It runs in the background, but basically when you hover the cursor over to the side where you've put Yonker, for example, it comes up with like a little graded like grey box, and what you can do is you can drag folders into it, and it'll store it there. But then you can open up another program or another. For example, say like if I'm in Google Drive now, I've selected like the new video footage I just got through from a client. I drag and drop that into Yonka, which just appears up. Then I'll open up Premiere or Photoshop, whatever, and I can take the same folder because it's set up a temporary like little tab there, and I can just drag it straight into there, and then Yonka will disappear then.
I've never heard of it.
So otherwise, I think with Apple, you have to either have two screens together, or you have to use all the shortcuts, and like you might drag it and then you lose the folders. But Yonka allows you to drag folders from one application, put them in the temporary like little box. It just pops up, and then you open up the next application. You just drag and drop it into the next one. There,
that's class.
And it's absolutely
super niche.
It's like game changer. Once you get it, you don't. It's only like £5, and it's £5 done dusted.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say 5 months.
Yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the backside that. But once you've paid that £5, you've got it forever, and literally it's an absolute game changer. Do you use Mac or do you use
Mac? Yeah.
So I'm going to get you onto that Yonka.
I will.
It's good. Literally, obviously you got all those files, and even like it's mental. And that Magna's pretty good as well. Magna just basically turns your computer into like a Windows in respects of like putting the screens and
Like, so that's on Apple as well, is it?
Yeah, so that's called Magna.
Cool.
And then the other one is called Yonka. So it's like Yonka. I think it's that. Oh. But that's an absolute game changer.
I know. I need to look into more. You know, I just want to streamline everything. I think I'm at that stage now where I want to work smarter, not harder. Like I'm willing to put in however many hours are needed. But I suddenly think, am I working to the best there? Like, am I as like kind of streamlined as I can be? And I think some of those apps, just shaving time, isn't it?
Are you implementing AI at all into
I'm
I don't use it for much. I posted the other day, and it actually is one of my. I basically put a before and after. I'd done a drone shot of a property that I was filming.
Yeah,
and I used the new AI in Photoshop, and it's called generative fill. Basically, you draw a box and you tell the box where you want it to appear in. And I basically changed the whole landscape of a location up in South Wales, and added like shit ton of trees, like a brand new village, like a stream running through it, a nice lake and stuff. And literally my DMs went off like, how did you do that? What was that? What was that? But I literally done the raw photo, and I done like the edited version.
I've messed about with it, but like
I can't categorically like absorb it into my day to day. There's certain things like, obviously you won't know, but there's like a videographer like in Premiere where you edit photos, they've got like AI based sound things now. So like I could be recording this in the middle of the street and then use like this plug-in, and then just the sound just goes crisp as hell. There's certain things you can use like that, but is there anything that you can use in your day to day that you?
There's loads. My worry is that when it started kind of coming out and everyone was getting excited about it, I wasn't naturally excited. Like people were just playing around with it and sharing the stuff. I didn't do anything, and there was this part of me saying like, you need to just start dabbling. You need to start messing around with it because you're going to fall behind.
Yeah, I've been in that situation,
and I think that's true. But like when people were talking me through it, I just wasn't excited by it.
Yeah,
I struggled to kind of force myself to get really like when I'm committed to something, I really kind of delve into it. But
yeah, because I wouldn't necessarily use it for creating the stuff that I make, like a video, like giving clients video. But if it can help me manage the business side of things back end, but I don't know what that would be. I don't know what the AI would do to help me.
I think you can even buy like paid versions of ChatGPT, can't you? Which can kind of like manage data and kind of organize
that's what I mean.
it.
Meant to, like, I'm sure there's be some sort of AI that you could type in, like, find me clients who are looking for videos or photos specific to hotel or travel thing. Yeah, I'm sure there's AI out there that can collect that data and go, here you go, here's 200 emails of the people who are in charge of marketing for South Wales Visit Tourism Board, or like go to, you know, Madame Tussauds London. Yeah, I bet there's that kind of AI out there. It's like, where'd you get it from?
I think the thing I need to get more involved with it. There's loads it can help me with what I do. I think it's about learning how to do the prompts, right? It's not because like it's easy just to say, oh, can you pop this here? You know, it's not. You have to like know the terminology and like how to word it. I think ChatGPT is really handy for like research. Like if I was doing like a brand naming session the other day, and I just needed loads of keywords, and I was just kind of typing in like words associated with this, and it's just way quicker than going to like the thesaurus website or whatever. And it was just giving me long lists, and I started like asking for like Nordic terms of like old Nordic terms, and it was just giving me loads. And I was kind of jotting them all down, and then like kind of it was giving me lots to work with. But then I went back the next day and I was like, oh, this one's actually really good. I need to just go back and find out what it meant. I typed it in and ChatGPT was like, don't know, that doesn't exist. And I was like, you literally gave me that yesterday.
Little bastards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think it's good at the moment for like that kind of stuff. Or maybe if I wanted to like do a script for a client, or like I had an idea for like a video I wanted to shoot, and I'd be help me expand on this idea. What shots could I come up with? Well, like that. But actually, like running a side of a business, I'd like to implement it more in regards to like running a business, but I just wouldn't know how to do that. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's probably important to look into it and start implementing it where you can.
Yeah. Because
I think those marginal gains are going to be massive.
Yeah.
But that's really hypocritical of me because I haven't done it yet. So I'm aware of it. I'm aware of how important it is, and I need to start exploring it way more. And I'm kind of scared that I'm not.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely behind on that for sure.
We've eaten up your time a lot. Before you go, because I don't want to keep you for too long, what's obviously you're off to London.
Yeah.
Kind of what are you kind of aiming for in the next year or so? What's in the pipeline for you?
So as I said, just kind of like always improving the process, but then also just kind of tightening up everything. So like kind of onboarding clients and project management and all that jazz. So I want to spend a bit of time doing that. I think that'll benefit me next year. Want to reach out to new clients and startups in London. Start building some kind of networking there. I definitely want to find that kind of work-life balance for sure. Because I've never got that right, and so that's a big priority. Kind of want to be successful and want to kind of keep developing.
You're the best of both worlds.
Maybe start pinpointing more specific areas to work in, because I'm all over the place at the moment.
Niche down a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Not like don't want to close the door on everything, but just kind of
be known as the reputable, company for said.
Just have a look back and be like, what do I love working on? What do I not like working on? Let's focus on what I love working on. And I've got a few other kind of ventures I want to explore, which I've kind of got set up, ready to go. So
amazing.
Yeah.
I hope everything pans out for you. I really do. I've had a pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much.
It's quite an in-depth conversation, especially in the first half, which I really enjoyed. If people want to follow your story, where can they go to follow along?
So White Sky Creative on Instagram. I think my personal one is just Joshua Cotterill. I think that's boring. Not on X, Twitter, and all that jazz. But and then obviously Creative Kicks. Yeah, give that a follow, and obviously if you're local, definitely go along to that.
Amazing stuff. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Cheers. Have a good day.
Nice one.
Bye now.